Sri Lanka's new president, Aruna Dissanayake, is on a three-day visit to India on a trip that analysts are saying is aimed at resetting relations between New Delhi and Colombo. Now, here's what he had to say during a press conference alongside Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the start of the visit.
We faced an unprecedented economic crisis some 2 years ago, and India supported it immensely to come out of that quagmire. And it has also helped us immensely after that, especially in the debt restructuring process. Sri Lanka secures a very significant place in the foreign policy of India.
So let's delve more into President Dissanayake's visit to India, and I'm joined from Colombo by Dr. Rajni Gamage from the Institute of South Asian Studies at the National University of Singapore. Good to have you on the program with us. Now, how would you interpret President Dissanayake's decision to choose India for his first official visit and meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Yes, certainly. President Disanayake's visit to India as his inaugural official visit has been keeping the tradition of the past few Sri Lankan governments, new governments which came into power, signaling the importance of India as its largest neighbor and in recognizing that alienating India has been politically expensive for the Sri Lankan governments in the past.
Now, one analyst in Sri Lanka has said that this signals President Dissanayake wants India to be its closest ally. Do you see that happening?
That's an interesting question, because what appears to be the case with this visit is that India is very proactive in reaching out to Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka's stance has been of balancing relations with two of the major powers in the region, which is India and China. But because India is so proactive in terms of engaging with Sri Lanka, the new government may face difficult foreign policy decisions in the future when it may be forced to not only balance, but make a choice between India and China.
Yes, and do you think perhaps that India was pushing President Dissanayake to come and visit, because there were jitters in New Delhi because the new ruling party has Marxist roots and that the president might lean to China again?
Yes, the JVP, which is the main party within the NPP, the new government in Sri Lanka, has traditionally had an anti-Indian stance. Now, this has changed with the new government. The president has taken a very pragmatic stance and recognizes the importance of India. But certainly the statement of the new government, where it said that it would review all connectivity-related projects with India, I think has not been taken lightly by the Indian side.
Yes, and one really interesting note in his press conference yesterday was that President Dissanayake says that, in his words, we will not allow our land to be used in any way in a manner that is detrimental to the interest of India. Was that perhaps a subtle reference to Beijing, given how China controls, that crucial port, Hambantota port in Sri Lanka?
Yes, I think certainly so. Dissanayake made this statement in October as well, when the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar visited as well. And when the Chinese ships docked at the Colombo port, there were certain tensions with the Indian counterparts, which I think Sri Lanka is careful not to repeat again, because this was seen to be a large reason to why the Mahinda Rajapaksa government lost power in 2015.
Yeah, of course, and the president mentioned earlier when we heard from him there that India, helped Sri Lanka out, providing $4 billion in aid to get it through the economic crisis. But how important is this strategically for India?
Very important. During this bilateral visit, one thing that we have seen is that India has stressed the connectivity-related projects with Sri Lanka, and this has included energy sharing to the more physical connectivity that exists between the two countries. And Sri Lanka is crucial for India in terms of the economic connectivity as well as security within the Indian Ocean region. So we have seen during this visit, the Indian government trying to sign finalize a security cooperation agreement with Sri Lanka.
Yeah, and also, do you think that there is an increasing wariness in Sri Lanka of China, given the perceptions of debt trap diplomacy happening in many other countries, not just Sri Lanka, but also, given that it ceded control of the port as well?
I think that concerns over China and the debt trap cases, they do not have as strong a hold within the Sri Lankan public or political space. We did hear certain elements of it during the mass protests in 2022, but I think that there is a more nuanced kind of understanding of how external powers influence the debt and domestic landscape of Sri Lanka.
And finally, there was one major sore point that President Dissanayake didn't shy away from in that same press conference, and it was about India's fisheries practices, specifically the use of bottom trawling systems by Indian boats. Is that something that India might seriously reconsider? That's
something that we have to watch and see. Certainly the arresting of fishermen of both countries when they foray into the territorial waters of each other has been a very sore point of bilateral tensions. As you mentioned, bottom trawling has been identified by the Sri Lankan northern fishermen as the main reason for the depletion of fish within their waters. Whether there will actually be a breakthrough on this matter, I think remains to be seen.
Yes, and lots does remain to be seen as far as the relations between the two countries go. Dr. Rajni Gamage, really good to get your thoughts on this. Thank you so much.
Thanks.